Hey guys, welcome back to the Troycast. I'm super excited today to share with the world one of my favorite guests that we have on, Miss Riley Fox, who is the principal right next door to the city center at Aspen Ridge. We are going to have a fun conversation today, so welcome, Miss Riley, or Miss Fox, as the students call you.
That's what they call me,
Yeah.
Mrs. Fox.
Miss Fox, awesome. So super excited. So just to let you guys know a little bit, this is our second year partnering with Aspen Ridge. So we have developed a great relationship with Miss Fox and her team and the students. And so we're just going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on her as a leader, also the students that she serves, and our partnership here at the Troy Center. So Miss Fox, tell me a little bit about your start in education and maybe like why you wanted to go into education.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I started in high school. I kind of fell in love with this idea of working with peers at the time, right? Like I found this opportunity to work with students who had disabilities. So that was my original start. I went to Bullard High School. I always like to give a shout out to Coach Jamie Maxey. She was my softball coach there. And she's also heavily involved with some of the special education programming over there at that school. And so she invited us as her athletes to support her in her adaptive PE courses. So it was forced, but I loved it. It was my thing. And I just found my jam. I was like, I can do this. I love this. So my start came with this desire to work with people with learning differences and that had disabilities. So that's where I started my journey. I started out at community college, and my plans for college totally fell through what I imagined. So I pictured this big, I had really amazing grades. I was I'm going to go to this a big 4-year, I'm going to do all the things, right? As you think as a 17-year-old kid. It's I'm going to do all the big things. And my plans fell through. Just didn't work out. So what I thought was a loss, going to a city college, ended up being the best possible thing for me. I got to play sports. I got to play softball in college. Had an amazing experience. I got a soft start into college. And I just really learned a lot about myself during that time. And it solidified what I wanted to do. So I continued to pursue the teaching route. I ended up transferring to Fresno Pacific. That's where I finished my undergrad. I got my credential at Fresno Pacific as well, and I went the special education route. That was where I was going to go. I was going to advocate for kids with disabilities. That was just where I saw myself, and that was where I was going to land. And so I pursued that. And I started my first teaching job at a rural community school out in the west side of Fresno, which I really enjoyed. But then I got the opportunity to come to Aspen Public Schools. And at the time, we only had Aspen Valley, one of our elementary schools. And that was in 2016. So I started there as an education specialist. So I served kids with disabilities. And I loved it. I loved the staff. I loved the organization. I loved our mission and vision. That was when I was this is a place I want to stay. And I found I had found my people, people that had a shared vision, people that were there for the kids, that was student-centered, mattered to me. So I stuck with it. I was there for about, let me do some math, 6 years as a teacher. And then at that time, Mr. Josh Hodges, who you guys knew a couple of years ago, was the principal. He was the founding principal, and he was removed at that time to start this school, to start our vision of Aspen Ridge. Families had been wanting a high school, so he stepped away and planned it and started it, and then he approached me and said, hey, will you come? Will you come with me? Help me start this. Help me think about special education programming. Help me do this. And I was like, all right, I'm here for it. Let's do it. So I jumped in, and in fact, my current vice principal, Mr. Abel Ruiz, was a teacher at the time as well. So him and I were part of the founding team together with Josh. And we came on right after COVID. It was a rough start. Like, our building wasn't quite finished next door. Like, we started our first week of school over here at Aspen Meadow, which is our second elementary school campus across the street. And we were like, all right, but we're here. We're going to do it. We got kids enrolled. Like, families want to be here, so we're just going to go for it. And it was a wild ride, but we did it. And I just love this organization. And there was a lot of people in this organization that poured into me and spoke into me that I could do things that I never saw myself doing. I never really wanted to be in educational leadership. I was like, no, I found my path. I'm going to stick with it. And then some people, Josh approached me a couple years ago and was like, hey, like, you want to be my vice principal? And I was like, ha, 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 like, good joke, you know? He's like, no, like, I'm serious. And it was kind of like one of those moments where I was like, this person is, you know, when you have people speak into you and you're like, you're joking. But then he was like, no, Riley, like, I'm serious. And he spoke some, like, things to me about, like, hey, like, I see this, this, and this, and I see that as potential, and I think we could work really well together to do what's best for kids. And so I was like, I took some time to think about it, and I was like, all right. It came to him. It took me a while, like a couple months. It came back to him, like, okay, like, let's do it. I'm in. So I just spent that first year, like, learning a ton. Like a ton, you know, and I had to do a lot of student discipline, which really, like, challenges your relationships with kids. It challenges your perspective on kids when you're just dealing with behavior all the time, you know. But it was a really good learning experience because I actually got to know a ton of our kids, not just the ones that were in there for challenging behavior, but, like, all of the students. It was a time where I was like, I get to know all of these kids now, not just this group. And I got to shift my perspective of advocating for one subgroup of kids to now, like, I get to advocate for all of our kids. And so then Josh, fortunately, whatever, I'm so happy for him. He has, like, another passion, and he decided to pursue that. And he came to me and he was like, hey, like, are you ready? And I was like, what? You only gave me a year? And he was like, yep, like, you're ready. You can do this. And I panicked, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Like, I'm going to jump in. I believe, like I said, this organization, if I'm going to do it, this is the place I want to do it because I know that there's people that are going to support me. So I jumped in. I convinced Mr. Reese to come back and partner with me. And then I had some other amazing partnerships with my counseling staff. And so that's my journey that's led me here. It was not where I ever expected to be, but I absolutely love our school. I love the people that work there. I enjoy coming to work every day. Everybody is for the kids, and, like, that's what matters to me. And I want to create a space where the kids feel seen and heard, but also, like, the staff feels that way too, because nothing's worse than, like, not liking to come to work, you know. And if the staff feels regulated and supported and things like that, then that trickles down to the kids. Yeah. And that's what's important. Like, I want them to see models of, like, even if I had a sucky morning or if it didn't go as I planned, like, I can shift and I can be present and do what I need to do because I'm pursuing bigger things, you know. So yeah, sorry, I feel like I talked a lot, but that's my journey to where we are now. So here I am, and this is my second year now as principal, and last year I was on maternity leave for a little while. No maternity leave for me this year, so I get to be here the whole entire school year, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Wow. There's so many different ways that we can go with this conversation, and thank you so much for sharing your journey, because I love doing these Troycasts because it allows me to connect in so many more ways, you know, with you, and just hearing your story is like, you know, I'm just really incredibly amazed and thankful that you're so vulnerable in sharing. And one thing I want to go back to is the shout out to your coach, you know, the one person that, you know, pushed you into doing something that you thought, you know, you hated and you probably didn't want to do. And then that guided you. And we here at the Troy Center often talk about, you know, about those moments in our lives that maybe something didn't work out, or maybe you were forced to do something, but yet that opened your mind up. And, as your coach being your mentor, and really, I wonder what your life would look like if you didn't have her in your life. Like, you would probably be in a very different position. And it just gives me so much hope and joy to hear these stories, because this is what we do. Like, these are the conversations. These are the uncomfortable situations that, we might challenge our kids to do something they don't want to do, and then they find their passion. Yeah. And so I just want to tap more into that, just as, a high school kid, finding your path so early on and finding your passion. Like, what was it about the work that you knew, like, this is for me?
Yeah. Wow. That's a big question. I think it was just this, I started to have this vision of how other people looked on this group of people that were different than them, right? Like, and how there was like this massive discomfort with approaching people that are different than you, right? And I don't know why I was like so fascinated by that. Like, I was like, what is this, you know? And then I just started, and some of that, to your point, came from learning from that coach and seeing how she supported and worked with students to know that, like, it didn't have to be like this weird situation. And I think that's when I just, it hooked me in, because I was like, hey, I'm all about, like, I'll bring people in. I'll be like, this is, like, come see what we're about. Like, this is cool. This is what we're doing. This is how we do it differently. This is, like, the way it is. Like, it's not weird or odd, or it just is. Like, we're all here. We're existing together. And I think I just had this moment, and even as, like, a young 14, 15-year-old, where I was like, I kind of want to be part of this, like, changing people's perspectives. Like, that was what it was really about. Like, I want you to see this differently. And not that I had it all right, but I was willing, and this is what I hope for my students, is, like, just having that curiosity of, like, hey, I want to look more into this. Like, I'm willing to learn about this. Like, and even if it wouldn't have been the right thing for me, and that's what I always encourage my kids, because I never want to put out this perspective of, like, everybody's going to have it figured out in high school. Like, that's so far from the truth, right? But it is a time for you to explore, like, what interests you, what hooks you, what are your values, what do you believe in, where do you go? And it really does take, like, strong mentors, like I had, that can help you see that, or if nothing else, just provide you opportunity, right? Like, hey, come check this out. Yeah. Like, see what you think. Right. And then them just fostering in, like, encouragement. And so, yeah, like, I 100% agree with you that is a trajectory changer, right? Like, if you're in that position, you can shift that for a kid by just telling them, like, no, you are good at this. Like, you can do this. And that's what I hope for my kids is, like, let's talk about your strengths. Like, no, what are you good at? Yeah. Stop telling me what you're not good at. Stop telling me where you're failing. But, like, let's focus on, no, like, what are you good at? Like, what's your jam? Like, what's your thing? And I wish I had more conversations like that, because one thing about administration is sometimes I'm, like, caught up in all this other stuff. Yeah. But anytime I need to be grounded again, I'm always, like, walking around at lunch, like, hey, guys, what did you do for the weekend? And they probably think I'm so annoying. But honestly, so for me, it's just a time to, like, be grounded and, like, why I'm here. Because when adults frustrate me, I go to the kids, and it reminds me, like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because they're here, they're safe, they feel seen, they have adults that care about them. Yeah. Like, that's it for me, you know? And so I want that for them, which is one of the really big reasons why I wanted to partner with you guys, because I think mentorship, I think positive adult influences for our kids are so crucial. Yeah. That why not? Like, if I can have, and then I love your guys' vision. I love what you're doing, everything that Nick's doing, what he believes in. It's like, that fits we have aligned visions. And I know that you guys are student focused and you
Yeah.
want what's best for the kids. And I know that, like, outside of school, like, school's not it.
Right.
You know, that school is not it. Like, there are other bigger things, and these kids need more touch points. Like, it's really what it comes down to, you know? These kids need more positive role models. They need to see people doing different things, other things, and still being considered, you know, successful or even just, like, kind. Like, I just want them to see, like, kind people that are treating others, like, in a compassionate, like, empathetic way. Like, that is so lost right now in some of our, like, youth, that any opportunity for them to just be exposed to that and to learn and grow is important to me. And I know that's stuff that you guys do with them when you're talking with them, with the Troy Enrichment Center. Like, that's stuff they're doing after school. They're learning those skills, and so that's important to me. And so that's why I really value our relationship. And I appreciate you guys coming alongside me and making a shift. When I came to you guys, I'm like, hey, I love that you guys are here at lunchtime, but what do you think about after school?
Yeah.
And you guys were like, yep, I'm in, let's do it. And so, like, I just appreciate that, because when I get a wild hair and I just, like, pitch it, and you guys are, like, so down to try it. Yeah. And I'm already seeing we're only, like, a couple weeks in, and these kids love going. Yeah. They're talking about it. I have kids asking me for permission slips every day. Yeah. And so that tells me, like, it's clicking. Like, these kids, this is something positive they're doing after school. They're seeing positive adults. So, yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's been such a pleasure starting our after-school program in partnership with Aspen Ridge, because we see there's so much power in empowering our students. And we have such a healthy environment to where they can come with their ideas. And one of the main ground rules and one of the main things we talk about is respect. But it's not respecting others necessarily, it's respecting yourself. And so that is a core value here at the Troy Center that we try to teach them. And with that, you know, we've already had conversations that would be considered hard, but everybody was respecting each other's opinion. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing, and that is a core skill to have, is the ability to, like you were saying earlier, see people's differences and say, hey, but why don't we try this? We actually always end up talking about food here at the Troy Center. And, you know, we talk about different foods and, you know, you should try this and you should try that. And there's a lot of students that are like, ew, no. And we ask them, well, have you ever tried this? Would you try it? So there's so many different lessons in this conversation. And I just really am so thankful for this, because, yes, the aligned visions that we have. And, you know, it's really incredible, because here at the City Center, there will be a family center opening up pretty soon, and if those students are not to remain at their home schools, they will be at an Aspen school. So that is another thing that we have talked about collectively. But if you guys are unaware, our students, you know, we have a very high foster youth enrollment. We have a very high unhoused enrollment. And so it's also seeing the vision of how do we provide services for that population, and how do we get them in spaces with kids to understand them, you know, because we're so tired of seeing the division of this person is this, or they are in this category. And I think at the Troy Center, one of my favorite things that I think I've heard all week was from you is, like, these kids are selecting to come, or electing, I should say, to come. And you want to keep those spaces open for kids who want to learn. And the group of kids that we have, maybe they wouldn't see each other or hang out at school. But when they're in this space together, they come together and they're bouncing ideas off of each other. They're sitting in spaces with people that maybe they thought, oh, that person might be this or that. Oh, wait, I didn't know that. I struggle with that too. Oh, you like to read books? I love to read. You know, oh, I didn't know you lived in this area. So do I. So it's a really incredible thing when I see leadership come together and say, hey, we need to do what's best for the kids. What is best for them? The idle time, right? What are we going to do during this hour that they're outside waiting for their parents? You know, and they're able to come to our after school program tech and learn. So it's just been powerful. And, you know, one thing I always am so thankful for is the ability to learn. Like, I'm learning, I feel, even more than they're learning, because I'm learning from them. And that power that they feel. with just ownership and, let's do, like, I think it's very important to ask our students what they need, because it's easy as an adult for me to say, oh, they might need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And maybe they have some sort of plan that tells them what they need. But when we come together and we ask them, it's like the ideas and the juices just start flowing, and it's like, wow.
Kids are powerful.
They're so powerful and and motivating and energizing. And, this next generation, there's a lot of negativity, but I can tell you right now that in these last few weeks, being in space with the kids of Aspen, it's given me so much hope for the next generation. For whatever they call all these new terms and Gen Alpha and all these things. It's like, I think they will be incredibly impactful, because we're already seeing that. So I think that we can go on and talk, for hours. But I just kind of wanted to end our conversation, and I know that we'll have a part 2, but what would you tell a 14-year-old Riley if you can go back and talk to her?
The first thing that popped in my head is I would tell her that people matter. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I think at that age in particular, I think it's important as much as possible to see outside of yourself. Like, yes, I love this idea of respecting ourselves, because a lot of our kids lack that. And I think I lacked that too at 14. Like, I had this deep-rooted, lack of confidence, right? But also, like, other people matter. And I think if you look at people and see their value first, it will change the way you approach them, right? It will change the way your conversation goes. It will change the way you handle disagreements. And I know that probably a 14-year-old Riley wouldn't process that all in the same way. But, an older Riley, that's what I would want myself to know, because relationships are so deeply important. And I also am trying to get my kids to understand, like, relationships don't have to be, like, massively deep to be effective. Like, just because you're not, like, super close friends, like some of the kids that come together to tech, like, still your acquaintance, your mutual respect, your ability to just have these conversations, like, that is a relationship.
Right.
And that can be positive. And when that's positive, those are culture changers. Like, that shifts our entire school culture. People that aren't friends but are suddenly very, like, friendly and respectful to each other, like, that makes change. And so people matter. Like, looking at people for their value and what they have to offer and finding that strength or just coming to a common ground, like, just is so, like, powerful, right? And, like, kids can do that.
Right.
Like, even the youngest kid can do that, can bring people together and can be like, hey, no, like, this person's really good at this. What do you think? Right. I don't know. I just love that about kids.
Right. No, that's so incredibly true. And I love that outlook that people matter, because it's easy to forget that, especially when you're having a hard when you're having a hard day, when you've been hurt, when maybe you're new to the school or whatever it is. But it just gives me so much joy and excitement just to hear this from our leadership at this school, that this is where they're coming from. This is their vision. So thank you so much for this conversation. I feel so incredibly inspired. And we will definitely have a part 2. You guys will definitely see more of our tech program after school and our collaboration with Aspen Ridge and Aspen schools in general. If you have not already followed us on Instagram, go ahead and tap that link below. We are so thankful for your time today, and we will see you soon. Bye.